football weekend of the entire year. We're down to the final 8 teams, and we have 4 matchups, but one of them is truly the crown jewel of the weekend slate, and that is Sunday afternoon's Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens game. Yesterday on the show, I came out and said, I think it is the best divisional round quarterback matchup, considering that season's performance by the quarterbacks that we've ever seen. And a lot of Chiefs fans were outraged, and a lot of different fans were outraged, saying, well, what about this game? You're not hearing me out. This is going to be the number 1 and number 2 in the MVP voting, both playing at the best of their careers, the apex, the best they've ever been, and scoring off for a playoff game for what might very well mean the right to play Patrick Mahomes in the next round. So I thought, let's put together a list. It's the top 5 quarterback divisional round matchups based on that season and what we were dealing with going in. And at number 5, we go back to the 1993 season where 2 37-year-olds were squaring off in the playoffs for the first time. It was Warren Moon and Joe Montana in an all-time classic down in the Astrodome. Warren Moon was finally that guy. The Houston Oilers were the 2 seed, and Joe Montana was the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs as the 3 seed. It would end up being the final playoff victory of Joe Montana's storied career, and also the final game of Warren Moon's storied Oilers career. Entering this game, Montana was a 4-time Super Bowl champion, a 3-time Super Bowl MVP, and a 2-time NFL MVP. Warren Moon, meanwhile, was a 6-time Pro Bowler and a 2-time NFL passing yards leader. And this was by far his best Oilers team. What happened? Well, Willie Davis and Marcus Allen, and of course the famous touchdown by Cash where he throws the ball at that Buddy Ryan logo. The Houston Oilers would go down at home to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's number 5. Number 4, you had a number 3 seeded Green Bay Packers going into a number 2 seeded San Francisco 49ers team led by Steve Young in 1995. Why was it so significant, Favre versus Young? It was the first time that these MVP quarterbacks, and both of them had MVP awards under their belts, it was the first time they would ever play against each other. And it was also the first time that they were first and second team all-pro quarterbacks. They would square off. Favre entering the playoffs, well, he would go on to win his first of 3 consecutive NFL MVP awards. Meanwhile, Steve Young, well, he was a 4-time Pro Bowler, a first-team All-Pro in each of the last 3 seasons, and he was the reigning MVP. They went after it. The Packers win 27-17 at Candlestick. Steve Young would attempt 65 passes in the loss, but Brett Favre would get the upset and the win, finally getting the Packers over the hump against a Niners or a Cowboys team in that era. Number 3, I am going to the 13-second game, and I know we're hearing that it's the greatest game ever. How could you forget this? I'm not forgetting it, Chiefs fans. I just don't think going in it was as dramatic as 2 guys who are vying for the MVP award, but crap, it was still a pretty good game. Let's see the highlights. 2021 NFC Divisional Round. We get to it. It's a 3-seeded Buffalo Bills versus the 2-seeded Kansas City Chiefs. It was the 2nd consecutive postseeding matchup between these teams. Remember, last year they had played in the AFC Championship game. Remember, Mahomes, 2018 MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and a 4-time Pro Bowler, including that season. Allen, meanwhile, was a runner-up to the MVP award in 2020, and is going through his 2nd straight season of having 35 passing touchdowns or more and 5 rushing touchdowns. First ever to do that in back-to-back seasons. You know how the game went. I say it's one of the greatest NFL games of all time. But going in, I don't think that quarterback matchup is quite what we have this year. So which one is better? Which one would I put in? Go back to 2004 in the divisional round. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning squared off, and it was Manning winning his 2nd straight MVP versus Brady, who already had the Super Bowl titles underneath his belt. Brady, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Manning, 2-time MVP, 2-time passing leader in yards, 2-time passing leader in touchdowns. And it's an all-time classic because the Patriots wiped the floor with them. Patriots get the home field, and Manning loses another playoff game, and he does so in spectacular fashion as Corey Dillon runs for 144 yards over that Colts defense, and the Patriots defense holds that high-powered Colts offense to just 3 points in Foxborough. But going in, the buildup was huge. Finally, it felt like they were on equal footing, and finally, Manning, with these 2 MVP awards and all of these passing titles, was going to get the best of Brady. But the defense wins championships, and Brady got the best. So what's my number one? The number one quarterback matchup going into a divisional round game for hype, for buildup, and for what those 2 quarterbacks have at stake is this Sunday's Lamar Jackson Josh Allen game. I will not shy away from this. I think this is the greatest with the most stakes we've ever seen. Consider their careers. Lamar Jackson, already a 2-time MVP, and this year vying for his 3rd. Josh Allen, the perennial runner-up in everything, hasn't gotten over the hump. If ever there was an MVP season, it's this one. We don't know who the MVP is yet, but we do know it'll be these 2 guys. They did the All-Pro voting. Lamar got 30 first-place votes. Josh Allen got 18. That might be a different total when we talk about MVP. And how about the games they're coming off of? Maybe their best playoff games ever. Josh Allen dialed in, Lamar Jackson doing it with his legs and his arm. I will not shy away from this take. When you have these 2 seasons from these 2 quarterbacks and you're telling me they're playing in the divisional round, I'm sorry. It's the greatest quarterback matchup we have ever seen in the divisional round based on this season and all the buildup that goes into it. I know we've seen Marino and Elway in playoff games in the divisional round, and I know we've seen others, but I'm not shying away from this. Here are my top 5 most decorated quarterback matchups heading into a divisional round. A lot of context here. Kyle, you are a football historian like me. Am I wrong for saying this is the best we've ever had it?
No,
and
Peter,
with the stakes,
it's the details,
and for what these guys have going on,
the details.
This is what it is.
It's not the top 5 best divisional round games. It's not that. We are sitting here on a Tuesday previewing the game. It is the matchup and the potential and the stakes. Like that Patriots-Colts game you called out, it was not a very good game, but it was an incredible matchup. We'll do games next week when the divisional round is over, and maybe Josh Lamar will find it. But in terms of matchup and stakes, Peter, you're exactly right. It is looking forward to the matchup is what he's doing here. Peter, get off him.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. You said the perennial runner-up for Josh Allen. Wow, that's an interesting take. He has been the perennial runner-up. I think he might run it up on the Ravens.
That's a take, Akbar. Peter, great job.
Big time.
Awesome, Peter. It's like the spice of the poster of the boxers looking at each other.
Exactly.
Like,
Sometimes the fight sucks, but
I understand.
the fight is attractive.
Yeah. All right, there we go.